deal with this apart from the military bluster, if that's the right word, and move us closer to some negotiation, to some de-escalation?
In some ways, I actually think they do, because what's sort of overlooked by what Mike Pence said and a number of others have said is all options are on the table. We focus on the preemptive strike side, but they're also willing to try and sit down and have some negotiations about what's going on, which I think is actually a very important element, as the Admiral pointed out, to have a whole basket of options, particularly when North Koreans meet pressure with pressure of their own. It's not the time North Koreans realize. I mean, they live with this their entire lives. So they're very comfortable with this tension. But without having an alternative in place, the tension only is sort of stuck in slow motion.
Let's go to Karen, calling from Waterloo, Iowa. Karen, thank you for calling. You're on the air.
Hi, Tom. I've spoken with you before. I'm a military mom, and my son was on the ground in Afghanistan, and now he is ready for another deployment. And I have got a couple points. First and foremost is I think that this president has rattled his saber since, before he ever got in office. And Syria, as the previous speaker said, was ineffective. We'll bomb their airstrip to really no stern or strong consequences, but we won't let the sick and injured people in our country. And we will bombing Afghanistan. I personally think that a lot of the bombing in Afghanistan was to divert the attention, to change the discussion. Prior to that, everybody was talking about whether or not this ended with Russia harmed by the bombing in Syria. They were forewarned about the bombing in Syria, and all the saber rattling that they're doing, quite frankly, right now, smack to me of, well, we'll talk the talk, but we've already made an arrangement, so we're not going to walk the walk.
So what do you make of the tension over North Korea? Is it real to you? You're a military mom, you say. Are you concerned?
No, I think that you've got one very strong saber rattler, and you've got another very strong saber rattler. And what my fear is that neither one of them have the gift of discretion, the gift of discernment. And as long as he's doing what he does without declaring war and getting congressional consent that this is something that needs to happen, he's really a loose cannon. And I think, we're in a very real situation with North Korea, but I think that he got us there.
Karen, I appreciate your call from Waterloo, Iowa. Let's listen in kind of on this front. Is it a military push, or is this really a negotiating strategy with military talk wrapped around it? This was H.R. McMaster again, the National Security Advisor, on ABC's This Week. And Martha Raddatz asked whether President Trump would have a different outcome with North Korea than those before him. This was his response.
I think it's really the consensus with the president, our key allies in the region, Japan and South Korea in particular, but also the Chinese leadership, that this problem is coming to a head. And so it's time for us to undertake all actions we can, short of a military option, to try to resolve this peacefully.
James Stavridis, we just had Xi Jinping in the United States meeting with President Trump. And the president, lots of presidents have hoped that China would bring to heel, as you say, or heel in Kim Jong-un, the leader of North Korea. But the president seemed to come out of the conversation with Xi Jinping sobered about China's capacity to do that. How great do you think that capacity really is?
I think it's quite real. And however, we shouldn't overestimate that China can simply snap its fingers and reel in this Kim Jong-un. But I think China really has a pretty wide suite of economic, political, and even cultural tools to play here. I do know General McMaster extremely well. And to the call from the lady in Iowa,
yes,
and thank you for your son's service if you're still listening. I would say I take her point about concern, but not only Lieutenant General McMaster, but also General Jim Mattis, who's now the Secretary of Defense. These are sober, thoughtful people who are not going to charge into anything. So I think we can take some measure of comfort from that.
You have a comment? What about the Chinese leverage here? Coal, oil, finance. But President Trump seemed to have somehow been sobered by Xi Jinping, that it wasn't, even for the Chinese right next door, it wasn't so easy to stop the North Koreans.
Yeah, and I would just second